Hi, my name is John, and this is Business Focus. In today's video, we'll be discussing how EVs or autonomous electric vehicles are encountering some resistance in terms of people adopting this new technology in their cities, in particular in San Francisco. Now, we've been talking about adoption of electric vehicles for quite some time. With Tesla being at the forefront of this, introducing the EV vehicles, which is a tremendous innovation that they've offered, and being able to offer this to the mass market. But the problem is, as I mentioned, there are a lot of technology that you need to solve first before a wider range, and even if it's even practical or plausible to do this large scale because of the components they need to generate to build those batteries. But setting that aside for now, the issue that's being mentioned here in this particular article at techspot.com, it mentions that the San Francisco protesters are disabling autonomous vehicles using traffic cones. Of all the things that's going to stop autonomous vehicle, I didn't know that traffic cones was the solution that's going to do this. Now, obviously, I'm not condoning what those protesters are doing. Obviously, they're doing it in a very safe manner, but there must be a better way of doing this to go to your councilman, to your government to deal with the situation, because obviously you have two sides of this equation. You have a company, like in this case Cruise, trying to improve the autonomous capability of self-driving vehicle, but it's a double-edged sword. In order for them to be able to be truly autonomous, it has to learn its algorithm, getting data on a daily basis, accumulating the data, how to learn from its daily experiences, which is there's the caveat. They have to learn from those mistakes, and obviously those mistakes could impact me if I'm one of the bystanders, that if it were to make a mistake, in the case of maybe hit a bystander, a pedestrian or other vehicle for some reason. Now, obviously, they cannot still say with 100% certainty that it's going to be safe, which is that's my contention to from the beginning. Unless it's safe, they shouldn't be implemented in actual city driving. But the flip side of this, how are they going to develop those technologies if they're not able to actually apply it in real world situation? Maybe in a smaller setting, less congested city, but can be detrimental to the growth of the technology here. But that's a case for another discussion here. But in this case, how are they able to do this? So as you can see here, a car, a self-autonomous vehicle that has sensors being able to drive itself. As you can see, there's no driver inside, and yet it's stopped on its track with a simple cone here. So how are they able to do that? Anti-car activists have come up with a novel way and effective way of disabling driverless vehicles owned by Waymo and Cruise in San Francisco by placing traffic cones on their hoods. So it's the work of a group called Safe Streets Rebel, which has launched a protest dubbed Week of Cones. They mentioned that the protest comes after automatic vehicles were blamed for incidents during, including crashing into a bus and running over a dog. Obviously, those are serious accidents that needs to be eliminated. That's why my apprehension, because especially like in Tesla's case, they're promoting heavily that what they're offering is a fully autonomous vehicles with the FSD, full self-driving, which in fact it can't even do it like this, and it's still not yet perfected, is what I'm saying, regardless of the level. And why would you risk those scenarios happening in the real world? And if it's not a dog, what if that were to be a kid, a person, a young child? you know on a given basis that accidents are happening because of human error. What even more for autonomous vehicles? Who's to blame if that were to happen? That's my question. That's another ethical issues that needs to be addressed, and that's not seem to be getting much discussion. Will the car manufacturer be at fault here? Will they be held liable, or will they be immune to, because it's driving itself, so it's the AI's fault? But question is, who's responsible for the implementation of it? Should it be the company, and so forth? Things of those needs to be mentioned here. Now, it mentions here that adding to Safe Street Rebels anger is an upcoming ruling by the California Public Utilities Commission that will decide whether autonomous vehicle companies can expand both the number of vehicles they operate in San Francisco and robo-taxis hours of operation from middle of the night to 24/7, which is pretty alarming because if they are able to operate 24/7, I mean obviously they don't need to rest, but you're seeing them more often driving in the roads. Will this cause more accidents? I think that's my only concern here, because if that were the case, then they need to halt this, because it has to be in a sense in a more regulated and safe environment for vehicles, so that it doesn't interfere with humans activities and even safety. There should be a fail safe is what I'm saying, so that in the event that it sees anything obstructing in front, it should be able to stop a few meters before it hits it, or it should be driving at a slower space of pace if that's the case. Yeah, I don't know what's the contingencies that they're implementing here, so we'll see. Now it's mentioned the video from the group has gained almost 5 million views on Twitter, points out that AVs blocks buses, emergency vehicles, and everyday traffic, which is obviously, if that were to happen, it's cumbersome. And how, if that were to happen, there were errors that occurred with the automation or the AI. How is it going to be fixed? Can it be remotely controlled, or that have one? You need someone to get in the vehicle and manually operate the vehicle. Again, those are things that has those car companies considered, and how are they going to be addressed, or is it just we'll consider it as we move along, which is a big no-no in my opinion, because obviously if it's going to hamper, delay, or even inconvenience regular citizens, or everyone in the city for that matter, then it shouldn't be considered to begin with. It's a company's responsibility to address those concerns before even implementing those vehicles in the first place here. As you can see here, so you can see that it can drive itself, but the problems here is it becomes an inconvenient if it gets stuck, or in this case, if they if there's an error, they don't move. Like in this case, they block the roads. That's never a good thing, right? So what are we supposed to do? So if it blocks it, can it anticipate uh, what to do if it encounters these difficulties? And this is pretty scary if you're crossing the street and you see the vehicles. Now I'm not condoning that those protesters are doing, but I think they need to showcase more of this issues, that what how it props up if those self-driving vehicles are put in a situation that it's not familiar with, and it's going to be inconvenient for the majority. And is the people supposed to accept this willingly? Not in my case. If that were to happen in this city, I'm not too thrilled about it, and I don't like it. If they were able to do it in their own city, in their own homes, would they use it willingly? And using as test guinea pigs is never a good thing in my book. So that's the main issue here that's happening here. Now obviously the protesters have the right to protest, but how they go about is, I think, that's a major cause of concern, because you don't want any harms done to the vehicles. And obviously there should be more discussion, and the government has to step up here, because they have to consider the consequence of having more. Imagine all of the vehicles are autonomous now. Is it 100% safety, or isn't just or it's just a slight percentage that it can cause an accident, or in this case, worst case scenario, fatality, which is we want to fully avoid here. But we'll see how did these stories progress, and I'll keep you updated with the goings on with regards to EV vehicle adoption, or fully autonomous vehicles at that here. We'll see who's going to be the first to be able to actually implement a fully developed autonomous vehicle. Is it going to be Tesla, Waymo in this case, or some other car manufacturer, car company here? We'll see. Anyway, that's it for this week. Come back again on Wednesday for more business update. As always, leave your comments if you have any questions, or if you think that what the car manufacturers or car autonomous car makers here are doing it right, or should we pause or consider? Do you agree or not? Leave your comments down below. Anyway, as always, I'll see you in the next one. Take care.